This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Jamie Glazov Moment. Tonight, questions never asked about Islam and the left. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year again where we reach out to our audience and our supporters and our fans to ask for some help to keep going because, as you know, or hopefully you know, the Glazov Gang is a fan-generated program and we're only here because of you. And of course, that's why we are so grateful, appreciative to all of you, because we're here all of these years because of your help. And now, as always, we're reaching out when our window of opportunity becomes narrow to ask you to help us keep going. And when we do that, and as we do that, we reflect on the questions never asked about Islam and the left. And we reflect on that because that's what the Glazov Gang does. You know, for so many years, I know that before I started doing this, I would always be watching the media, studying the media, and I would always be saying at one point, okay, ask this question, you got to ask this question. And they would never ask the question. But the establishment media till this day, as you know, doesn't want to ask those questions because it doesn't want to have those questions answered. Because the establishment media, just like our higher culture, just like the globalists and what the left is doing and the unholy alliance is doing, it's suffocating thought. It's suffocating our free speech because of their agenda. And the Glazov Gang is here, my friends, and hopefully that's why you like us and support us and will continue to support us, because we're breaking through that and we're trying to break through that. When I was reflecting on talking about this evening and you know, just getting ready to nudge all of you a little bit for a little bit of help for us to keep going, I was reflecting just on one memory in particular. You know, I'm from Canada. Maybe you've noticed I say a little bit too much at the end of my sentences, and we say about a little bit differently than Americans do, so I never stop getting teased about that. But when I was in Canada years back, you know, as always, studying the left, and I mean, there's a million examples to bring up, but I'll never forget there was this coward and this moron, George Strombopoulos, I can never pronounce his name right, but he had this program on CBC, which is very similar to Stalinist propaganda in the former Soviet Union. This George Strombopoulos guy had this show, The Hour, just full of just leftist propaganda. And there was one program I'll never forget, and the discussion of Iran came up. And the segment was about how music was kind of being allowed in Iran on some sphere or whatever. And, you know, George is all excited, and he's swinging this. And I remember with one of his guests, he was like, oh yeah, well, all those people that, you know, judge Islam and judge the Middle East or whatever, you know, they need to understand that things are changing now. Things are changing. They take time. Like, he slanted the program in such a way as if the truth tellers about Islam need to lighten up because things are changing, instead of emphasizing why there is no music or no music allowed. And I'm not saying there's no music in Iran. The Persian people are incredibly musical, obviously. We're talking about what the Islamic Republic allows on different spheres. And so on that particular program, women had somehow been allowed on a certain sphere to start singing somewhere or other. And, you know, George is showing off, you know, he's all excited about this to try to show, you know, all you Islamophobes out there, stop judging, there's music in Iran being allowed. But anyway, he had this female guest from Iran, shrouded in a veil and in hijab. And you can clearly see that she's a spokesman for the government, and you know, and he's asking her, oh well, you know, tell us about this, and how about the music, and how come there's no dancing or something like that, and she answered, we can play music, but dancing is not part of our culture. And he was like, oh, okay, and at that very second, because my family escaped from totalitarianism, from the Soviet Union. So it's always on my mind where the lies are and what needs to be asked. And when that Iranian woman speaking for the regime clearly said, or had been, coached by the Islamic Republic, mullahs and all their propagandists, when she said, we sing, but it's not part of our culture, and he just accepted that. That was the moment for George to say, okay, you say it's not part of your culture. But let's say somebody stands outside of that. Let's say there's a dissident, a dissenting voice, because I'm sure that dancing might just be universal. There might be a Persian woman that maybe would like to dance. What would happen to you even though it's not your culture officially, which is all BS, by the way, but you say so. But what would happen to a woman that broke the quote-unquote culture and decided to dance? That's the question to ask, because that gets to the discussion of what will happen to that woman and why Islam makes those rules, why the Islamic Republic makes those rules. I just bring this up, ladies and gentlemen, because it's an example, one out of millions of examples of what we see today, whether it's Rachel Maddow or Anderson Cooper or Don Lemon and our higher culture, our establishment media, all the lies, all the things that they don't ask, especially about our culture war and especially about our terror war today. And crucially, what's happening is that we are under attack by jihad and Sharia. The Glazov Gang is trying to tell the truth about that. And we have to break through one thing especially, that every time there's a jihadist attack, for some reason the pressure is on the victims. We have to start saying, oh, we're not racists, because what the Unholy Alliance has done, the Unholy Alliance between the left and Islamic supremacism, they've conflated Muslims with Islam. And they've racialized Islam. They're very clever in how they've done this. So if you have any truthful thing to say about jihad, for instance, that it's rooted in Surah 9:5, it's rooted in Surah 47:4, as the jihadists themselves say, you are somehow seen as hating all Muslim people and being a racist. That's how clever the Unholy Alliance is in its propaganda. And it's a lie. Because number one, Islam is an idea, it's an ideology. When we tell the truth, when anybody tells the truth about Islam, it's not about the millions and millions of people that are in the environment of Islam. It's about Islam and the people who follow it. And so this is crucial to bring up because there are many people who are labeled Muslim, who are made to be Muslim from birth, and who today see themselves as Muslim or are labeled Muslim, but they are not necessarily following Islamic law. And of course, we're not talking about those people and we don't hate those people. This is the left's very clever lie. And also, Islam is not a race. Islam is an ideology. And there's many different races that follow Islam. So this whole racialization to try to make it seem that people are racist if they have a problem with jihad or with female genital mutilation, which is rooted in Islamic texts, or honor killings, etc., etc. So why I'm saying all of this is the Glazov Gang breaks through these lies and wants to and is trying to protect our Western civilization from the totalitarian forces that we face. And it's telling the truth about them and asking the questions that the establishment media doesn't ask. And also the left. We're truthful about the left and we're going at the left because the left is in league, is in alliance with Islamic supremacism today. And it's doing that for a reason. And I've written my book, United in Hate, to explain the leftist heart of darkness. And we're asking the questions about the left and answering them. One memory off the top of my head, Bill O'Reilly, even though, he was doing a good thing on several levels, it was never my cup of tea how he tried to use that whole fair and balanced thing by never really going at the sacred truth and inviting the important guests. And by playing that fair and balanced thing all the time, he asked questions in such a way that on certain topics you don't really ask the questions. I remember one time he was like, "Oh well, the Muslim women, they want to wear the hijab. That's their choice too." Or I remember he was always playing this devil's advocate, asking different questions. You don't do that when women face acid attacks, when women face to be honor killed, when the hijab is rooted to be mandatory in Islamic texts. I don't believe in playing that game on those sacred topics which are interweaved with the persecution and with how millions of Muslim women suffer under Islamic gender apartheid. But I will say that on the left, there are many times when Bill O'Reilly was trying to credit Obama. And on his show, he was always a little bit confused. Obama's doing this and Obama's doing that. And he would say very often, "But why is he doing this?" Because O'Reilly was always trying to play this thing where, he means well, Obama means well, but he's just misled. But many times he would say, "But why is he doing this? But why is he doing this?" And I used to watch and think, O'Reilly, it's not that difficult to figure it out. You've been asking this year after year during the Obama presidency. Bring on Dinesh D'Souza, bring on David Horowitz, bring on the experts of what and who the left is. And ladies and gentlemen, the Glazov Gang gets to the root of that because we tell the truth about the left, which many vehicles and mediums in our media and our higher culture are afraid to do so. And we get to the heart of the fact that there's malice involved. Because when you're building the Tower of Babel on your own, and you believe that you can get back to Eden on your own, and there's no need for God, or perhaps God doesn't exist, or you're rebelling against God, and you have appointed yourself as social redeemers, and you're going to create a perfect planet. Well, in order to create that perfect planet, you have to destroy the one that is. And you especially have to destroy democracy. And so there's really no great mystery why the left is on the side of the totalitarian and terrorist forces in the world today. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what the Glazov Gang is doing. It's telling the truth about the left. It's telling the truth about Islam. And that's not happening in our establishment media, as you well know. It's not happening in our higher literary culture. And that's why also we're facing attack constantly. I don't know if you know, those of you that perhaps are new viewers, our new audiences, but the GoFundMe online crowdfunding company banned us from being able to run campaigns. So we can't raise money on GoFund because, you can just imagine that, being against female genital mutilation or trying to fight for the liberation of people stuck under Islamic tyranny, that's somehow racist and white supremacist today. That's for another time, but that's the success of their propaganda. YouTube constantly demonetizing our channel and our shows. And unfortunately, it's only a matter of time. I mean, we know the people that are advising YouTube, the Southern Poverty Center, pretending that this is a group that pretends, this SLPC is a group that's pretending it's following hate groups. But as we well know, it's a hate group in and of itself. And it's smearing and slandering truth tellers all the time. So we have problems, even on this YouTube channel. And now CARE, the Muslim Brotherhood Front Group, is attacking our producer, Annie, trying to shut her down and trying to shut her down from being able to give speeches. Just Google Robert Spencer, Annie Cyrus, CARE. CARE versus ex-Muslim Annie Cyrus. Robert Spencer wrote a great piece on this the other day describing what had happened. But it's very clear now, and you can read it in Spencer's article, because CARE released a press release recently trying to stop Annie from giving a talk in Massachusetts. And it's very interesting that in that press release, they listed a whole bunch of things, though they skewed some of it, obviously, but that Annie talks about on this show. So if the Hamas-linked CARE is watching our show and waging war on us, wow, we must be doing something right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is that time of year. Please help us to continue doing what's right. Please go to jamieglazoff.com to support the show and help us keep getting the truth out there about the left and Islamic Jihad and asking the questions that are not asked in our media and in our culture. Please help us keep going. Keep the Glazov Gang alive. JamieGlazov.com gives you all kinds of options of how to lend us a helping hand. Thank you for joining the Jamie Glazov Moment tonight. Good night.